So I've been thinking about the idea of what happens to founders when they start their companies and then they get through the first three stages of their venture. And the theme that's emerged for me is something I call the bootstrap that forgot it was. What do I mean by this? Well, think about this evolution of a story. A founder and his co-founder, they get going on their company. They were in their job. They were, working on their jobs, and they had this idea. They developed the idea. They took it through. They created a demo. They found some customers. They then finally got enough traction. They left their jobs, got into the valley of death. They worked on this product and idea. It evolved. It iterated, and they finally kind of got the right magical, configuration of it, and emerged from the valley of death. And then started having to, build this organization and put in marketing, put in HR, put in all these different systems. And so on and so forth. And the company just kept expanding and really essentially was taking that initial idea that came out of that initial valley of death and expanding on it, making it better, scaling it out, serving hundreds and thousands of customers, different locations, so on and so forth. And in the course of doing this, and in the course of getting consumed by the needs of this new this organism that now has grown and become a very big, vibrant thing, the founders forgot about bootstrapping. They forgot about those early stages, about what happened, how those things worked. And in fact, the rules, as we've said, of the growth and beyond stages of a company are very different from the ideation and valley of death stage. So those rules begin to kick in. All the needs of the organization began to kick in, and bootstrapping got left behind. Now, the thing is that bootstrapping is really the way in which the company initially got going. That's how it actually found its way in the world. It used bootstrapping techniques and so on and so forth. But what's also interesting is the founders themselves might not have actually been able to see what was going on and why the bootstrapping process itself was so integral to how that emerged. Oftentimes when I talk to founders who are very successful, who've taken their companies through the first three stages, I find that when I'm explaining kind of some of the, or reflecting back to them some of the ideas of what we've said, they go, yeah, that's right. I always look back in the valley of death and thought, never again, and that was such a bad time. But in fact, that was the most critical time. That was when all the innovations happened. So you got two kind of interesting challenges. The first is founders themselves don't necessarily know the elements or can't articulate the elements that they went through to get the company going from ideation to valley of death to that first stage of growth. Secondly, because now the organization has become a massive organization, they get consumed by the rules of this big organization and forget about what the process was when it was just one of both of them in the garage. Now, the thing about it is that bootstrapping process is the essential process by which new products and innovations are going to happen. In fact, that's how the company got to where it got to. This is the case with Dell. This is the case with any number of bootstrap companies that we've talked about. So now the question becomes, how does the company begin to tap into that? Well, the good news is that bootstrapping is something that's actually in the DNA of the company. It's already there. It's already something they know about. It's something they've done, and it's just gotten hidden away and lost. So we've got to remind the bootstrapper, which includes both the company itself and the founder, about the bootstrapping process, and then reinvigorate that bootstrapping process back into the company so that it can begin to go back to basics and develop the next set of great products and services. So that's the story of the bootstrap that forgot it was, and how we can begin to use, even using that story, realize that it's actually very, very easy to tap back into bootstrapping to create innovation.